Good.
Action.
Hi, my name is Trinity Bowe, and I'm here with
Nathan Howard.
And I'm Al Murphy, Forest Preserve Commissioner, District 6, DuPage County.
and today we're going to be interviewing him and asking him some questions.
So firstly, what's your name and tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm Al Murphy. I live in West Chicago. I'm married, 3 children. They're 32, and 31. I have 2 grandchildren. I own Murphy Ace Hardware in West Chicago, and I've been a commissioner for 7.5 years for DuPage County.
So what makes you the strongest candidate for this position?
I think my years of government experience, I was an alderman in West Chicago, and I've also been the commissioner for the last 7.5 years. But also, I've been a user of the preserve since I was in high school. One of our first adventures in high school was to take a raft trip down the west branch of the DuPage River, and we tried to make it to Plainfield in rubber rafts. The problem was the first day the rafts developed leaks, and we walked to Boys Hill in Winfield and camped there the night, and then we walked the rest of the way down the river to the West Chicago wastewater treatment plant on Roosevelt Road and called it a day. The next year, we went in with aluminum canoes, and we're canoeing along, and it's getting very dark, so we set up camp, and we had a little bonfire, and there was 2 sets of canoes, so there were 4 guys. We wake up in the morning, it was quite foggy, and the fog starts to clear, and we had camped out at Centennial Beach, downtown Naperville. Needless to say, we jumped in the canoes and went on our way right away before anybody came and gave us any headaches or anything, but it was quite the adventure. But also raising my family, I have 2 sons that are Eagle Scouts, and spent many days in the Forest Preserve camping and enjoying the outdoors, teaching my kids about nature. And my daughter, who wasn't involved in the Scouts, recently was featured in the Wisconsin DNR magazine for a program called Hike-A-Baby, where you take your baby out and go hiking, and she's the Milwaukee ambassador for the program. So it's a good thing, and being out in nature is a great outdoor activity, gives you good, clean, fresh air, and the forest preserves do that. So I felt I really enjoyed it when I was a kid and growing up with my family and everything, so I thought I'd help out and become a commissioner.
What does the Forest Preserve do for the citizens of DuPage County?
Well, for one thing, take a breath of fresh air. The Forest Preserve produces so much fresh air just through photosynthesis with the trees, bushes, etc., the vegetation. It purifies our air. It also, the wetlands act as a filter and filter out impurities into the water that go down into the groundwater where many of the local residents get their water from. But it also gives us a great recreation opportunity. Hiking, fishing, boating, sledding, tubing, all different kinds of activities you can do in a forest preserve. But it gives you an outlet, a break of urbanization, but also a break from life. You can go to the preserves, relax, soak it in, enjoy, and ease the day's tensions down. So, and that's just one of many things it does.
I agree with you. It's definitely relatable too. Can I ask you, what do you want to achieve in your term for the Forest Preserve, and how will you do that?
Okay, one of the things right now is there is a trail that runs from Will County, runs through West Chicago, up through Winfield, parts of Wheaton, Carroll Spring, and goes all the way up to Cook County. But the problem is, in West Chicago, there's a break in the trail. There's no way to get over Roosevelt Road and the west branch of the river. I came up with the idea that we build a diagonal bridge across Roosevelt Road and the river at the same time. I've secured over $5 million in state funding to build it, but we got to see it through, and that's one of the projects I'd like to see through. The bridge in Warrenville, the Senecal property, used to be an old religious thing, was donated to the Forest Preserve, but there's a bridge that's worn out and literally needs to be replaced. And those are just two of the projects that I'd like to see completed for my term, so yes. And those would be great additions, because then you could ride from Will County all the way up to Cook County in the north and make a loop of the trails, etc. So yes.
Finally, is there anything else you wanted to tell us?
There are many challenges coming up to the Forest Preserve. And one of the things that there is a bond issue that's retiring in a couple of years. And that is an opportunity to lower taxes on every resident in West Chicago for the real estate taxes, but it also is an opportunity to regroup some funding to acquire more land, because there are very few big parcels of land left in DuPage County. But we need to look at the future of preserving land for future generations, not just for your grandkids, but your great-grandchildren. And that's a good thing, and if we can do that, all good.
Yeah.
So yes.
For the future generations.
Yes, well, exactly. You've got to think of the environment and the future generations. It's not all about today and what we're going to do tomorrow. It's next week, next year, years down the road. So, yes. Any other
Anything
questions?
else you would like to add?
How can you make forest preserve areas more accessible?
All right. One of the things is we've just recently commissioned a commission at the Forest Preserve to give better access to people with disabilities. All kinds of disabilities, covers everything. And you gotta realize a lot of our trails are gravel, but it's not good for people with wheelchairs. So we're gonna look at paving some trails, maybe getting some sensory gardens in for people with autism, that type of thing. Because we cover such a broad area, it's tough to do it at all the preserves, but maybe we could have one preserve designated to serve people with special needs, etc. And get them access, because they do need access, and they do need to enjoy it just like everybody else. So yeah. Any other questions?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
from us.
That's about it.
Okay,
That's it.
very
Thank you
good.
so much
No,
for
you're
talking
very
with us,
welcome.
Mr.
Yeah.
Murphy.
You're very welcome. Thank you, you two.